إذن سنبدأ الآن في القواعد الخمس الكبرى. سأذكر يعني أول من اختار هذه القواعد الخمس من باب الفائدة. يقولون إن أول من ذكر هذه الخمس وقال إن هذه الخمس هي هي أكبر القواعد التي تندرج تحتها أكثر الفروع هو القاضي حسين المروزي من فقهاء الشافعية في بلاد ما وراء النهر. هو أول من قال إن هذه القواعد هي الكبرى. طبعا هو جعل 4 ثم زاد بعض المتأخرين 1 فأصبحت 5. قالوا إن الفقه يكاد يندرج جميعه تحت هذه القواعد الخمس. أول هذه القواعد هي قاعدة الأمور بمقاصدها. الأمور بمقاصدها. ما معنى هذه القاعدة؟ باختصار شديد معنى هذه القاعدة أن الشخص إذا فعل فعلا فإن هذا الفعل يتأثر بنيته هو، ماذا قصد هو من هذا الفعل، ماذا قصد هو من هذا الفعل. كيف يتأثر؟ هذا ما سنتكلم عنه إن شاء الله بعد قليل.
The Shaykh wants to mention by way of fa'idah who was the first individual that came by way of mentioning these first 5 principles. The first person to collect or to mention these first 5 principles was Al-Qadi Hussein al-Marwi, and that in fact he actually mentioned 4 of them. So he was the first one to compile them as 4 great principles, and then after him, the scholars that came after him, they increased another principle, thereby making them the 5 great principles. So the first principle that the Shaykh mentioned from the 5 great principles is al-umuru bi maqasidiha, that the actions or the validity of an action is in relation to the intention of the one who performs that action. So the Shaykh went on to mention that, for example, a person, if he performs an action or any action, then that action is affected by the intention of that individual. How and why? This is what the Shaykh is going to explain now.
نعم. المسألة الأولى، ما الدليل على هذه القاعدة؟ الدليل على هذه القاعدة هي أحاديث وآيات كثيرة في كتاب الله عز وجل وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. ومن أظهرها حديث قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إنما الأعمال بالنيات، وهذا حديث رواه الشيخان من حديث إبراهيم التيمي عن عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه مرفوعا أي للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إنما الأعمال بالنيات. يقول علماء اللغة إن إذا دخلت عليها ماء تسمى الماء هذه ماء الكافة، تكف عملها فلا تنصب اسم إن، وفي نفس الوقت تفيد الحصر، ومعنى ذلك فإنه لا يصح عمل إلا بنية. إنما الأعمال بالنيات أي إنما الأعمال الصحيحة بالنية أو المجزئة بالنية بحسب اعتبارها. ما هي فائدة النية؟ يعني لما قلنا الأمور بمقاصدها، ما معنى مقاصدها؟ قالوا إن النية تكون سببا في التفريق بين العبادة والعادة، سببا للتفريق بين العبادة والعادة، لأن بعض العبادات يفعلها بعض الناس من باب العادة. أضرب لكم مثالا، لما الشخص يرجع إلى بيته ويريد أن يستحم من باب الحر الشديد، وخاصة في مكة اليوم هذه حر شديد فاستحم، هذه عادة. لكن لو كانت عليه جنابة ألن يستحم بنفس الهيئة استحمام الذي يريد أن يتبرد؟ نعم، الصفة واحدة. لا يرتفع حدثك، الحدث الذي هو بسبب الجنابة، إلا إذا نويت رفع الحدث. وعلى ذلك شخص دخل بيته أو غرفته فذهب للمستحم فاغتسل، فلما خرج قال الآن تذكرت كانت علي جنابة ونسيتها. نقول لم يرتفع حدثك، يجب عليك أن تغتسل مرة أخرى لأنك لم تنوي، بخلاف الذي دخل وهو ناو لرفع الحدث فإنه يرتفع حدثه. هذا مثال للتمييز بين العادة والعبادة. مثال آخر، كثير من الناس يسبح في البركة وهو لم يتوضأ مثلا، لم يتوضأ أو يغتسل، نفس الشيء، الوضوء نفس الشيء. أيضا شخص مشى تحت المطر، يقول لو نويت وأنت تحت المطر أن يرتفع حدثك وجاء المطر على وجهك وعلى يديك إلى مرفقيك وعلى رأسك وعلى قدميك ارتفع حدثك إن نويت. إن لم تنوي لم يرتفع حدثك. إذن الأمر الأول وهو تمييز العبادات عن العادات. مثال ثاني في التمييز بين العبادات والعادات: الصوم. بعض الناس يقوم من النوم ما أكل شيء، ثم يكتشف أنه قد أذن المغرب، دخل وقت المغرب، يقول نجعلها صوم. نقول لا، انتهى اليوم، ما نويت ولو في نصفه. النافلة يجوز أن تنوي في أثنائه، وأما الفريضة فيجب من أوله، لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نوى في النافلة في أثنائها في نصفها، يكفي من النصف النافلة. أما الفريضة فيجب من ابتدائها. إذن هذا الرجل ما نوى الصوم، فنقول صومه غير صحيح، فلا بد من النية. مثال الحج: سائق السيارات في الحج يذهب مع الحجيج مكة ومنى ومزدلفة، بعد ما انتهى الحج قال ليش ما أجعله حجا، أنوي الحج. نقول ما يصح، يجب أن تكون نيتك سابقة، لأن انتقالك بين المشاعر لا يكفيك، لابد أن تكون نويت الحج. وهكذا أشياء كثيرة. نكتفي بهذه الأمثلة. نعم.
As it relates to the first principle, which is al-umur bimaqasidiha, then the proofs for it are many. And we can find these plentiful proofs contained within the Quran and likewise within the ahadith of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. So from amongst these adillah is the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, whereby he said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, that indeed actions are but by their intentions. Or it could be said, indeed actions are judged by their intentions. The scholars of the Arabic language have said that when inna comes into connection with ma, then it yufid al-hasr, meaning it specifies that thing only. So you translate that into only. It specifies that thing. When inna comes into connection with ma, yufid al-hasr, it specifies and contains that thing. So therefore it would be said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, indeed actions are only by their intentions. And what's the meaning of maqasid? What's the meaning of maqasid? The Shaykh went on to say that it's in relation to the intention, whereby the intention of the individual or the intention of the one who's performing the actions, that he differentiates it from worship, or he differentiates between the acts of worship and those actions that are done from habit or from custom or from tradition. For indeed, sometimes the two can resemble one another. However, they are differentiated by way of the niyyah of that individual, that he intends with this action worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's not merely doing it by way of habit or tradition or custom. So the Shaykh went on to give an example. For example, a person who enters his house. It's been a very hot day and he's in a state of janaba. He enters his house and he takes a bath. If he hasn't made the niyyah of raising that state of impurity, then the water that hits all of the parts of his body will not raise him from that state of impurity. Because why? His intention was to do it because it was a very hot day. However, the individual, so let's say that if he left the house now, and then he remembers after he left the house, oh, I'm still in a state of janaba, then that bath or that shower that he took would not be sufficient for him considering himself to be in a state of purity. He would have to go back and take another shower or make the ghusl, because it needs the niyyah, it needs the intention. So all of the parts of his body, the water would need to connect with all of the parts of his body with the niyyah, with the intention. So the first instance wouldn't suffice. However, he would need to perform it correctly by way of having the correct niyyah. The next example that the Shaykh gave, حفظه ta'ala, is in relation to the fact that some people may go swimming, or some people might be walking in the rain, and then they may believe that the fact that the water has connected with all of the parts of their body, or definitely in relation to the parts of wudu, then this is sufficient for them in taking them out of a state of impurity and making them in a state of purity, meaning that they have wudu now. The Shaykh said that if a person walks in the rain and the rain connects with those parts of the body, those limbs of the body whereby a person has to make wudu with them, then this person will exit from a state of impurity and he will have wudu. He will have wudu. He will be in a state of purity. So long as he has the niyyah. So long as this is accompanied with the niyyah, with the intention. So this person is walking through the rain and the rain hits those parts or those limbs of the body whereby he performs wudu. If he has the intention for that, for wudu, then he has wudu. If he doesn't, then he doesn't have wudu. Thereby showing again that the actions or the validity of actions is in relation or in connection with the intention of the one who's performing that action. Another example that the Shaykh gave, حفظه ta'ala, is that some people, well, it's in relation to fasting. The fact that some people may not eat from the beginning of the day, and then when it comes just at the time of Maghrib, they say, you know, I haven't eaten anything, so I might as well make it a fast. I might as well consider this as a fast. The Shaykh said that here, this wouldn't be accepted, because the condition for fasting is the niyyah. The condition for fasting is having that intention that you're fasting for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of worship and trying to seek closeness to Him azza wa jal. As it relates to the obligatory fasting, then a person needs to have that niyyah from the beginning of the day. From the beginning of the day, meaning before sunrise or before the appearance of Fajr. As it relates to the supererogatory fasting, then it's sufficient for that person that he makes that niyyah before half of the day, before midday. However, in this instance that the Shaykh has mentioned, that the person didn't eat from the beginning of the day up until nearly the time of Maghrib. So it reached after half day. And then he decided that I want to make this a fast. No, it wouldn't be accepted here because he didn't have the niyyah for fasting. Thereby showing that the umur bimaqasidiha, that the acts of worship are only valid by way of the intention of the one who performs those actions. Another example that the Shaykh gave in relation to Hajj, that you have a person who has a car and he drives to the different holy sanctuaries and places that are within Hajj, that a person has to travel to perform Hajj. So whilst he's doing it, he says that, you know something, I might as well make this a Hajj. I might as well do Hajj. Here it wouldn't be accepted from that person because it needs to be preceded with the niyyah. You need to have the niyyah, thereby showing again that the umur bimaqasidiha, that the acts of worship are only valid by way of them having the correct intention.